Okay, well, a lot of stuff. Basically, I wanted to make this really informative because I've been watching your podcast for a while. I've been involved in this for a couple years now, but it's been about a year I haven't seen my children, and that's basically because a false domestic violence petition was filed against me, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So I kind of want to just give an overview of what's going on, so it's informative for the viewers, and then kind of go through the way I see the system broadly, so that maybe we can all work together. Because I think that's what you're really doing here, Marianne.
Mhm. Oh, I'm trying. I'm trying to get everybody on the same track. It's very hard. People are afraid. They don't want to talk about their case, things like
Right? Retaliation is real.
that.
So,
Yes.
so basically, what happened is, so I came from a planned family. We weren't married, but we planned it out to have children, and that was a 9-year relationship. Then COVID hit, and it got kind of really sticky, depression with the mother, postpartum. We had a 1-year-old at the time, and then she broke up with me. We got back together, lived in the same house, things like that. But I think that a lot of people have the same processes. If you talk to other people and really get a feeling, it's women and men, and I found out some similar stuff, so hopefully you'll remind me to touch on that in a little bit. But basically what happened in November 17th of 2021, there was a breakup where I moved out of the house. I had to move into a studio apartment. There was drug dealers there. It was horrible. I had a job, and then I ended up getting fired from that job, and uh, with recommendation, and then I had to get another job. So it was really difficult. During that time, I had keys to the house. I would go over the house. We were visiting, but she started acting weird. We did like 2 weeks afterwards, and really just I thought we might get back together, but she ended up posting online and hid it from me. She posts that she's finally single, or not finally single. She's single. It's really hurtful, Adele. Oh, it feels good. And that's when she ended up talking to uh, acting weird, but she ended up starting a relationship with a married police officer. And he was in the process of getting a divorce, but he lived directly beneath his wife. And so it's really weird how that stuff happens. And quite frankly, inappropriate, in my opinion.
Mhm.
COVID, I ended up getting COVID because I was taken away from my children. I was sitting on the futon, sleeping on that, having what's called broken heart syndrome, some mini heart attacks,
Mm.
just horrible stuff. She ended up going on vacation, and without asking me, and just going on vacation, and then she was having this affair as a mistress, call it what it is. I had to witness this whole thing, and
Mhm.
I was still like, maybe we can get back together, maybe it's a thing. Like ridiculous thoughts in my head, because I really loved her. I really loved her. This is my first planned family. She was going through some issues. I ended up finding, through watching the kids at that house, I ended up finding pornography on my child's iPad,
Oh, yeah.
very of her, and that was brought into the court. So by the way, there was no court at all. This was all just an arrangement. You know what I mean? She would force the kids to sleep over, like not ask me any questions, like not give me any input
Mm.
in general. And then in July, she's still having this affair as a mistress with a married man. We weren't married, so it wasn't on that end. She did what's called, commonly called kidnapping, but it's actually RSA in New Hampshire, RSA 633:4, interference with custody. When you take them out of state and you hide their location, that is a felony. And the police officer committed it too. They brought him to a camp and kept him overnight. I said, could give him back. I called the police. That stuff's online.
Mm.
Okay. So the phone call's online. They told me to go to court to get my rights. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then still, I'm still seeing the kids. She filed in September. So a couple months later, they broke up. And then she filed the parenting petition. Uh, one week, then she started posting again online because she was upset that he broke up with her, that her life slipped between her fingers, and that unfortunately some things still linger in the past. And then 1 week later, I was fired as marketing manager, full benefits. This was a job that I got recruited from another place. Just horrible. Later on, I filed a motion for mediation. Her direct response was to file a fictitious domestic violence petition. So she filed to get strategic advantage in the courts. Then we had the DV hearing. The judge wrote physically and mathematically impossible findings of fact, fraud. Then 2 weeks later, we went to the temporary parenting hearing. They used that in court. They convicted me of a crime without going through the criminal process, basically by removing all the evidence and putting that in writing. And then they ordered me to have direct communication with the petitioner. And I can go into the specifics of that, but basically ordered me to violate the protection order. I told them, hey, that's a violation. And then they held me in contempt. And now we're in the Supreme Court. So the court lies. They hide evidence in my specific case and in others, and they impeached me, and then they ordered child support without her filling out the proper documents, which is, and they didn't consider assets and so on. So what do you think so far? I tried to just bang that out, Marianne.
That was super quick. I mean, that is just terrible. Because that's what they do. They'll take whatever someone says in court. The judge doesn't look at evidence. The judge doesn't hear anyone talk. They've already got the case made up, as it's already done before you walk in there. And as far as child support goes, they will take one person's, W-2s, but they won't look at the other person's W-2s. This is what I found in with domestic relations here in Pennsylvania. You were also mentioning something about, this can happen to men and women.
Right. Want me to elaborate on that?
Sure.
So what I've found is that typically it happens towards men. Men are considered the ones, they do this, to get federal funding. So they don't want to tax the people. That would be uproar. So they'd say, hey, we brought in $1.5 billion in federal funding. These are domestic violence funds. And then they are also child support, Title IV-D funds. That's what I know specifically. And I actually have laws that I'll get to you, which say that they have to, for the grant money, they have to keep families together. So now when women get their children taken away, it's usually because the father is more politically connected, knows the police, knows the governor, and so on. It's just like, so what this really is rich and poor and people kind of controlling. This is the way they control. And so I want to explain that stuff as brief as possible to you guys. I have some like drawings that I can draw, and I just kind of want to do that. So I gave the brief of my case. Maybe we'll talk about the business of government, and then talking to the court's legal lobby. Then I'll start drawing. But like, what do you think the government is here for? Who is the government?
I don't know. After my case, I don't know which end is up. And I think a lot of parents would say that they don't trust the government.
Right. So the thing is that the government is just people. And there's a term called libido domine. It actually came from Judge Neapolitano, the little short guy with the full head of hair. He's actually pretty famous and people like him. And libido domine, it's the lust of power over others. So the government is just us. We have a constitution which was written to prevent people from abusing our powers. And if I don't mind, you're going to edit this out right now for a second. I'm going to stop and re-record.
Oh, okay. Oh, okie dokie.
All right. So we're talking about like the government, right? So it's people who want power over others, and they go and they want to control things. I want to control things. We all want to control things, but most people, they just go about their lives. They know politics is corrupt and these things, but we know as a people, which is why we had the Constitution, that people have always handled things. Now, I mean, they've always abused the power of government from kings, right? Makes sense?
Yes, always. It's always been that way.
Right. So now now I'm gonna start drawing some artwork here, and you're
Okay.
gonna tell me that we're good.
Yep,
You see
looks good.
me? Can you see me good? We're
Yep.
good? All right. So pretend that's a perfect triangle,
Okay.
balanced, okay? There's 3 points. You got the legislator,
Mhm.
executive, and the judicial. But they're all supposed to be equal in power. That's why we have 3 branches of government. But we only have Democrats and Republicans. We only have men and women. We don't have an independent party. We used to,
Mhm.
right? So our founding fathers knew that this was all this way. We have men and we have women. Well, now guess what we have? We have non-binary. I think it's a good thing, and the Constitution allows for it. Independent, right? Or gay, cis, whatever it is. It's all in there. They just want us fighting constantly so that they can do this. Now, the problem is perfect triangle, right? Perfectly balanced. Here's the problem. This is the triangle right now. Republicans, Democrats, the people. We're supposed to be in the center here with the power, right? But actually, what's happening in the states is this. Here's the judiciary,
Yep.
here's the legislator, here's the executive, right? Now, how does that happen? You can see that, right?
Yep.
How does that happen? Why does that happen? How? Well, guess what? You get arrested, go to court, judiciary can overturn it. Oh, they write a law, judiciary can overturn it. Everything can be overturned by the judiciary. You win $1 million in court, they can overturn it. You lose $1 million in court, they can overturn it. They can hide evidence, they can do everything they want. It's more important than printing money, because what they can do is decide who gets the money, decide who takes away the money. And so, but if you look at what actually happens in the courts, right?
Mhm.
They are honorable except for in the family court, because the thing is, the family court is not yet decided. It's very new. In New Hampshire, was the family division was created in 2005, where it got removed from the Superior Court. In 2011, they made the family courts. No rules of evidence, no trial by jury, which is in our Constitution. So every state has their own Constitution. So what do you think, Marion? Does that make sense? I've been planning this out in my head for a very long time.
So New Hampshire didn't come up with family court division in 2005.
Oh, well, no. We created the law. It's RSA 491D, um, which is the courts. They set up a court. Everything's set up with laws. It goes Constitution, United States Constitution, state constitution, laws, court rules, decisions, thoughts, opinions, and they have it so swayed. So what I want you to kind of know, and I don't know if you know this, but like from my research, family courts are new and they're not working. They're depriving us of our due process.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that? Like in Pennsylvania, do you know when the family court started? Or I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I would put that disclaimer at the
Oh yeah, I'm
beginning.
not a lawyer either,
I'm
everybody.
not, this is not
I'm
legal
not either.
advice. This is,
I know that I think family court was installed 1968. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Uh, but Congress installed it. Like no one voted on this. We didn't ask for this.
right.
It should all be handled in civil court. It should be abolished.
Right. So, right, no, I agree. It's unconstitutional. You have a right to a jury trial. The jury protects people. That's what they do. They protect us from the government, because the jury can just go absolutely not. But then even still, the judges can overturn a conviction, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing, but they cannot convict someone. And they rarely overturn a conviction. A governor cannot convict someone, but they can overturn. It's all the balance of power, because we know that people are evil. I'm evil. I'm agreed. I would love for everyone listening to give me money. And I'll tell you how too at the end of this. but like, I would love to be able to force you,
Mhm.
to do so. So, um, the next thing, what do you know about domestic violence?
Well, I kind of had to deal with this and I should have reported it, but I did not. Only because it was with the ex and his mother even. And I should have called a state trooper, but I just didn't take it seriously. But I know, people come on and they send me evidence so I can see what's going on. And I know that even guys get beat up and they've sent me evidence of their photographs and exhibits.
Mhm.
These judges aren't looking at anything.
Right. Well, so it's actually by a domestic violence coalition. There's a Violence Against Women Act that was made in like 94, and it's basically a big fund. It's called Violence Against Women.
Mhm,
That's, you're not allowed to discriminate, but it's called that. And it's like a $400 million a year fund, or billions of dollars over years, where they give each state money to help victims, and then that goes to the Domestic Violence Coalition. I reported it. So remember, I said 633:4 interference with custody is a Class B felony, but it's also a form of domestic violence. I believe that domestic violence protection orders are unconstitutional because we have in our state, and every state pretty much has the same constitutions, but we have in our state what's called Article 15, the right of the accused. They can't take away your liberties, your children, your property, which children used to be, women and children used to be property when the time the Constitution was. That's why I say it's not yet developed. But anyways, they took away those things without giving me a lawyer, lying, and so on. And they continue to do that. So this coalition called the police on me after telling me to come into their place. And you'll find out that there's women who have gone to them, but they're less politically connected, and so they don't get helped. They basically take the grant money and they don't provide the services. There's actually a girl who got shot in the face here. She went to the police. Well, it wasn't found out that she went to the police until she testified before the House of Legislators, but it was in the newspaper. And it's famous, the Judge Polly case. I'll say one name so that way, and it's NHPR. Maybe we'll suit, like, people don't really care. Just get the concept. So the Domestic Violence Coalition, to get more money and to change it, because it's really a network of lawyers, the
mhm,
legal lobby. They said we need more protections, we need more funding. The judges need to do this. She went to the police. She went to the coalition. The coalition helped her fill out the form. Then they missed the court date. They didn't go. The advocate didn't go, which they're paid to administer this stuff. They get federal funding for this. They just got $2.5 million this year from the Governor Sununu on the 18th. Um, so, and then so her ex ended up buying new guns and shot her in the face and committed suicide at her work. This is real.
uh-huh,
And so what they're doing is retaliating. It's all men. I didn't get accused of any physical or sexual abuse. They said that I was texting her too much, and then they lied about the evidence. The judge lied about the evidence. The evidence showed that I didn't, that it was reciprocal, and the numbers were mathematically impossible. So I want you guys to think of these things, that these judges are going to lie. They want their docket clean. They want to clear it off. They're going to lie. They're all linked in. They're all linked in to the judges. So, because most judges are lawyers. In our state, you don't have to be a lawyer to become a judge, but you are. You start out as at least a lawyer, and then you become a judge. And our Supreme Court judge was never even a judge. He just went from a lawyer representing the Rockefellers. Horrible people. It's ridiculous. So the Domestic Violence Coalition is biased against, man, all these videos are up. We'll get those videos up. I have the recordings of the police recordings. I have the recordings of them at their office, after inviting me to be there, calling the police, putting a trespass. It's just ridiculous stuff. All right.
so they wanted you to, like, show up and then that would violate your restraining order. So they were trying to set you up?
They weren't, so the law, you just read your laws, okay? My law, if I say 173B, you don't know what that is. RSA 173B, I don't know if Pennsylvania has RSAs, but they have laws, right? RSA 173 is the domestic violence protection, protection against people for domestic violence. It is unconstitutional because it takes away your rights without due process, the criminal charge, because in order to be have a protection order issued, you must have a crime accused and be proven that you did a crime. You must have committed a crime. And then since they don't go through due process, they take away your rights, your children, without due process. And then at the tail end of this law is how they give the state funding through the attorney general. So there's going to be an attorney general in your state. It all works the same. I've seen the grant papers. There's a lady, Claire Best, who I've been working with, and I'm going to put you in touch with her. She's going ham on these people, specifically New Hampshire, because it's a very small, corrupt state. And she's wrote about the Kids for Cash in Pennsylvania, which you know about, right?
Mhm.
So they, with the little bit of time that we have left, because I want us to come back, I want us to process this, chop it up, and we'll figure out how to do this. They're all connected. There's a legal lobby. And they specifically retaliate against pro se litigants. My specific case, I can prove it. You need to be able to prove this stuff. You can't just say someone lied. That's another thing I want you guys to know. A lie, right? Do you know what a lie is? Go look up a Webster dictionary. It's a mistruth. Do you know what fraud is? Knowingly saying a lie in layman's terms. Not legal advice. This is just a very smart guy who can recite laws like 546, RSA 546. I forget the colon, but it's a 1955 law, which came from the Uniform Support Act, which was nationwide. They integrated it to every state. It's still our law. And what that law says is that they shall determine assets in child support. Shall means must. They didn't do that. She has more money. Think about it this way. Bill Gates goes and has children with the homeless lady.
Mhm.
Two extremes, right? Then he goes, you know what? I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm just not feeling it anymore. He's going to have to pay for that woman. Even if she cheated on him, anything, she's going to pay for that. That woman's going to go into a home. And that's what we haven't figured out yet. The gender bias. We figured out race. Clarence Thomas wrote about it on June 28th. It'll be cited forever. He ended with the colleges. He ended affirmative action. It's not, now we just need a woman judge to go, hey, I'm a woman, but it doesn't matter. Everything I've done to get where I'm at is because I'm freaking awesome, not because I'm a woman or because I'm a man or, you know, a unicorn. So with that being said, I own easylegalsuit.com. I've been putting up laws. I'm looking for people to work with. I'll get the links and we'll do this later too. But you can just look up my name, Robert Tangway. Type in Robert Tangway. I also wrote what's called New Hampshire Oliver Twist. And if you, everybody knows what Oliver Twist is. If you search, you have to search Robert Tangway, New Hampshire Oliver Twist, because it was the first result, which was very, very clever marketing. That's what I do for a living, or what I used to do before this crap.
Mhm.
If you'd have to search that out. But you'll see all the videos. It's a 30-minute read. It's a long read. It's what I wrote. It's art. It's to show. We have to convince these judges. We can't just scream at them because that's not going to work. We have to convince these judges that they're on the wrong side of history and they are acting very shameful. But unfortunately, most judges, state judges, in my opinion, as Supreme Court, at least in New Hampshire, they only care about the money and their racket. They're not writing any opinions that worry the that make case law for family courts, which are very new in our state. 2005, 2011, the family court started. I don't know when they started in Pennsylvania. So Robert Tangway, you'll be able to connect with me. You'll find that Robert Tangway, New Hampshire, Oliver Twist. You'll be able to see my story. And then maybe we'll put a link to Easy Legal Suit. There's only information on New Hampshire. It's not legal advice, but I want to get with business-minded people because this is a business. We have to get together. We have to survive long enough to hear out our cases. They're starving us. That's what they're doing. They're
Mhm.
starving us. You know it. You've been through it, Miriam. I've talked an incredible amount. What are your thoughts, Miriam?
I just had a woman on my podcast, Lori Reynolds, and she was talking about these domestic violence shelters and that they have been infiltrated by CPS, so they're not really a help. So this VAWA, VAWA, is really not helping women either. I've heard this before,
Mhm.
even before I had Lori on. So they're taking this grant money, and what really are they doing with it?
They're funneling it to they're funneling it for their political aims. So and then they're putting it into nonprofits, and then on those nonprofits you have board of directors, which is not an hourly clock-in. So I've actually in my state. So what happens when you call the domestic violence hotline? You get brought to a third party answering service. So they get millions of dollars, and
Mhm.
then they also sue people. That's what Claire Best is bringing out. They sue people, they hustle people, clergymen and stuff like that. I don't know all that stuff, but anyways, they they subcontract out for $100,000 a year. They get $1 million a year. They get $100,000 a year to subcontract. You take all the phone calls, then they get free volunteers who to be your advocate that have absolutely no training. Then they pay their board of directors. You get paid $99,000, and the main person gets paid $125,000 a year. Lynn Chalette in our state, and I believe that's the number. Don't. But anyways, they and then if you look at what nonprofit reporting is, it's anything over $100,000. Otherwise, so they funnel it to the CASA. We have, I don't know if you guys have A, B, C, D. Nobody cares. No, I'm gonna swear now. No one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck about me. We all care about ourselves, but our family. These are our blood. These are our piece. This is my hand, right? They ripped my arm off. They took my children. They raped and violated me. And I want you guys to look at your local laws, okay? What we have in New Hampshire is RSA 633. It's called trafficking in humans. And part of that law is to compel, which that's what courts do, compel people to do something. And then part of that law, specifically in my state, I don't know about your state, it says by abuse of the legal system. Fraud is abuse. Violating RSA 173B, domestic violence protection orders, which requires them to notify the police, to petition the court, modify the order. Because other guys, I know, I met a guy, he got arrested 3 times. Do you know why he's not in jail? All 3 charges got dropped for violating the protection order. You know why? Because he spends $300 an hour on a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, thousands of dollars, who used to work for the county prosecutor. So we have to understand how the government works,
Oh, yeah.
right? Right? Attorney General, county prosecutor, local police. There's all proven cases of corruption. Not every cop is corrupt. And so get your evidence together. It's at roberttangway.com. You can go there, reach out. I'm sure if anybody reaches out to you, they'll be able to get a hold of you. And what do you think? You think we did
Definitely.
a good job today?
Oh, most definitely. And I just always tell people, when you hire an attorney, before you hire an attorney, find out who they're connected with. Go on LinkedIn, look up your judge, find out who they're connected with, who they party with, and just study the stuff because, there's also a site you can go on to look up how much money they've donated to their judge campaign
Mhm.
because
We
that
don't
was,
have elected judges in New Hampshire, which
huh.
is out, they're appointed by the governor. The governor is super powerful, and he was supposed to run for president, but he's not because he's involved. look it up, the DCYF, the Sununu, I call it the Sununu Rape Center, but it's actually the Sununu Youth Center. It's lost its name. For decades, kids were getting raped at the youth center. It's all Oliver Twist. They take poor kids and they stuff them into jails
Mm.
so that they can make money. Because that wouldn't happen. Any rich kid, you think a rich or middle class family that wasn't going through a divorce, do you think that that would happen? No, we would do anything for our children. It's common sense. People are just being stupid. It's that simple. They're being dumb. They're not talking about the issues. Women cheat, men cheat, the cheater is contentious. It's women monkey branch. These are things, right? It's in their nature. And they're allowed to do that, but they're not allowed to violate your rights. They're not allowed to lie in court. They're not allowed to hide money.
Mhm.
And they're supposed to do what's in the best interest of children. And what's in the best interest of children is not starting a new relationship to find a new daddy or to find a new mommy, because it happens.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's simple stuff. What's one of the most popular books? What is it? 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
What was one of the most popular series? Sex Lives. Have you seen Sex Lives?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
Oh, no, someone was telling me to watch that.
yeah. Go watch a synopsis. It's a junk. It's trash. It's like a soap opera for women to convince women it's okay to have an affair because they're not excited.
And get a venereal disease in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I think we're good for now, right? Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. But hey, don't jump off, okay?
All
Uh,
right. I want
le-
to talk to you afterwards. Yeah, but I just
oh, most definitely. We will, and I'll have you back on too. Slam the Gavels a podcast, help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. And please join us again here with Robert Tagway again and other exciting guests. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio. And if you want, you can donate to buy me a coffee to keep the podcast going. Thank you so much, Robert.
Marion, I just want to say actually, I need to get your book. I think that's the best way. The
Oh,
best way would be to like see what's going on.
yeah.
Buy the book. I think you did. I gotta buy the book. So that's what
Oh,
I'm
yeah. Yeah.
not to interrupt you, but that's
Thank you. Most definitely.
you can get that on Amazon.
Oh, yes. Amazon. Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool.
Well, okay. So don't jump off.